All right, for your third Photoshop assignment, you're going to also be working with manipulating photographs, but you're going to learn how to layer objects so that one object appears in front of or behind another object. So here's my teacher example of how you are going to be adding pieces to a kitchen to design a kitchen of your choice. So each student is going to start with this plain blank kitchen, and then you're going to all learn how to build a bowl of fruit to place somewhere in the kitchen. Then you're going to place an image behind your window, and you're going to add at least one other object to your kitchen to help kind of create that setting. So here are some student examples from previous years of what the students placed inside their kitchen. Some students added more than one extra image, and you can see that their idea was really creative with the extra things that they placed in their kitchen. So here's how we get started with this assignment. In your direction, step 1 says that you need to open up the bowl and the fruit from the T drive in the kitchen folder. So I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to switch to the T drive, West, Dropbox, Kendall, Your Class, and Kitchen. I'm going to want to open the bowl and the fruit. So if I want to open them together, I'm going to hold Shift to add. They're both highlighted. Now I can click Open, and those two open up together. They are both on the screen, just one was hiding behind the other. Okay, so you are going to be placing a piece of fruit inside the empty bowl to begin with. So this is already a Photoshop file. Checkers means there's nothing in the background. So I can just use tool number 3, my lasso tool, to circle the piece of fruit that I want to place inside my bowl. So if I want to put the lemons in my bowl, I'm just going to circle that fruit. It does not matter if I have checkers in my selection because checkers means it's invisible. Now I'm going to move this object by switching to tool 1. The move tool, I'm going to click and hold and drag that to my fruit. Now I'm going to move that so it's in the center, and I want to transform, Control T, and I want to stretch that fruit so it looks like it actually fills up the bowl. And I want my fruit to go a little bit below the front edge of my bowl because I'm going to Photoshop that later to look more realistic. So once I'm done transforming, I'm going to click Enter. And now I am going to stop and save this to my G drive. So I'm going to go File, Save As. Right now I'm working from the T drive, which is a class shared drive. I'm going to choose my G drive, open my art folder, and I'm going to leave that as a bowl. And then click OK. All right, now I'm working from my personal G drive. So from here, step number 7 says to click on the bowl layer in the layer window. So right here, I've got multiple layers. I have layer 1 and a background. I'm going to go ahead and title those. So I'm going to double click background, and I'm going to title that bowl. And that unlocks my layer. And now I'm going to double click layer 1 and title that fruit. This is important to keep track of what layer, what image is on which layer. So the directions say click on the bowl layer. Now I'm going to do step 8, which says use the lasso tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to click and draw slightly higher than the front edge of my bowl. So I'm going to be a little bit higher than the front edge. And then I have to draw all the way around the bottom of my piece of fruit. And then let go, and I've created a selection. So now, step 9 says that you're going to copy the selection. The shortcut to copy is Control C. Control C. Now I want to paste that piece that I just copied. Look at your keyboard. Next to the letter C is the letter V. That is a shortcut to paste because the keys are right next to each other. So if I do Control V, it just made a new layer with that same image. I can't see it in my photo, but when I look at the layer window, now I have 3 layers. Before I just had bowl and I had fruit. Now I have layer 1. I'm going to retitle that front of bowl. Okay, in Photoshop, whatever layer is at the top of a stack is what you see in the foreground, or what's in front of you. If I want another layer to move to the front of the view, I have to move that to the top of the stack. So I can click front of bowl and drag that to the top. And now that piece covers up my fruit. So now I'm starting to build it a little more realistically. So now I just have to do a little bit of editing. I'm going to switch to my eraser tool. This is step 10. And I want to make sure I'm zoomed in enough to see where I'm erasing, and I'm going to use my eraser tool, tool number 7. I want to check the size of my circle. I can change that circle by using the brackets next to the letter P. And now I'm just going to erase that piece of the bowl that was covering up too much of my fruit. So I'm going to click slowly. If I accidentally do that, I can do Control Z to undo it, or I can go to my history and undo it. So my goal is to try to make it look like my fruit is precisely inside my bowl. Okay. So now I just photoshopped it to look like that fruit is sitting down inside my bowl. And that is called layering objects. It's an illusion that you can create in Photoshop. Okay, when you are done building that bowl, now you're ready to save this image and as one layer. So if I look, this is made up of 3 layers. I'm going to want to be moving that bowl into a kitchen. But right now it's made up of 3 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and open up that kitchen just so you can see from my T drive. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be moving that into. If I try and move this bowl into my kitchen, I know I have to be on tool 1, which is my move tool. If I click that bowl and drag that into my kitchen, the only thing that's going to move is the fruit. And the reason that happened is because this bowl of fruit was made up of 3 individual layers. I want to squish all those layers so they are on one layer. That's called flattening the image. So step 11 on your directions say, flatten the image by clicking layer, go to the bottom, flatten image. Now all those 3 layers just got squished into one layer. I'm going to double click and title that bowl of fruit. Now that is one image. When I click and drag, they all stay together. But now I want to get rid of my background again. So your very first assignment, you learned you can use your magic wand tool to click areas that are the same color. It will select them all at one time. Backspace to delete. When I see it's checkered, it's delete. Now I can move that into my kitchen. So tool 1, click and drag, and I can drop that into my kitchen. Now I've got this white piece that doesn't belong here. So all I need to do is use my eraser tool, use my brackets by the letter P, and just erase that. Switch to tool 1, and now I can decide where I want to place this within my kitchen. If I want it on a back counter, I need to shrink it down some because that doesn't look very realistic. So Control T to transform. And if I want it on my back counter, then I'm going to shrink that, press Enter, and now that looks a little more proportionate to scale. So now that I have just moved this image into the kitchen, I need to save it to my G drive. File, Save As. I need to switch to my G drive, open my art folder. I can leave that as kitchen and click Save, then click OK. Now I'm operating in my personal G drive. Nobody else can open my assignment and change that because it's in my G drive. So now look at your layers. You have bowl of fruit and layer 0. Layer 0 is your kitchen. Double click that and title that kitchen. Okay. Now the next step is to choose an image from the internet that you want to place in your window of your kitchen. So I'm going to open up a Google document, and maybe I want a garden view to be seen through my kitchen window. So I like this one. So I'm going to right click, save image as, make sure I'm in my G drive, in my art folder. I will remember it is garden and click save in Photoshop. Now I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to open up that garden. And now I lost my kitchen. That's because the file opened up in the same window. If I click garden and drag that away, now I can see those two side by side. Okay, so I've got the image that I want to put behind my window. Now I have to make space for that. So I need to make sure I can still see my layers window, and I need to delete the white space in my window. So I'm going to use my magic wand tool. I'm going to click that white spot, hold shift, click the other white spot. Now I'm going to delete that. I need to make sure I'm on my kitchen layer. Push backspace till I go checker. Then I get rid of the dotted lines. Control D to deselect. Now I can move my photo into my kitchen. Click on the move tool, tool 1. Drag that to your kitchen, let go. And now that photo moves into your kitchen. It's not behind my window yet, but I'll do that in just a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to transform my picture. Control T. I'm going to stretch that to cover all of the window. Press Enter and it should focus in Photoshop. Look at your layer window. Whatever layer is at the top is what's in the foreground. So right now, I need to move this picture to the background. Layer 1 needs to go to the bottom of my stack. When I click and drag and drop that, it goes behind my window. Now I can still click that photo and move things around if I want that fountain to be more visible in one spot. And I'm going to double click layer 1 and title that window. So I remember in the future what's on that layer. And remember the eyeballs, I can click those eyeballs and they will take away what's on each layer. And then I'm going to want to save this, Control S to save, so that I don't lose the work that I did in one class period.